Previously on Battle Camper, Harry and I slept in a car park with drinks, the police, and a literal endless parade of doggers.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
We pick up the action the morning after. I do have to question how Harry manages to look so wholesome after effectively spending the night trespassing in one of the UK's hottest dogging spots. Anyway, after a quick dog walk in which Kiwi failed to find the red toy, even though she's got Retriever in her name, and note here she had plenty of time, it was time to head back, break down the campsite, and get to the venue. For those who've not watched part 1, this is a 1,000 point tournament of Middle-earth strategy battle game. To whiz through my list, I have Saruman and Grima, Lurtz, Vrasku, 2 Siege Ballistas, 7 Uruk-hai Berserkers, and a whole buttload of Uruk-hai Warriors, 12 of them with crossbows. On day 1, I'd had 1 loss and 2 wins. As always, before we get into it, all my models are assigned to patrons so we can figure out who's lucky and who I need to invite to my poker circles. I'm going to be giving away 3 prizes in this video to the patrons whose models performed well throughout the tournament. So far, a handful of Berserkers and Siege Crew, Grima and Lurtz are all definitely in the running. Given the volume of models, I'll talk about who owns what when it becomes relevant. For now, let's crack on with the games. For the first of the day, round 4, I was flying high on table 7. Not that I expected it to last, necessarily. I was playing Carl Bates with an unusual mix of Lothlorien, Numenor, and the big bird itself, Gwaihir. The game was divide and conquer. For those who don't know, we're capturing those 3 objectives across the centre line there, but our armies are split into 2 and deploy in opposite corners. We're just smashing our way through the first few turns because there was a whole hell of a lot of just jostling for position. I had the numbers, so really I just wanted to rush for the centre. I did not want to spend the game trying to force the Numenorians and Elves, who can be remarkably sturdy, off the valuable objectives. Gwaihir was understandably very nervous about the idea that he might just be pinged out the sky by one of the ballistas, but would eventually decide to hop back over the other side of the house and take them head on. However, the clump at the far side of the board were a little bit slowed by the fact they all wanted to stay within 6 inches of Galadriel for the protection of her blinding light. I was struggling with my own quandaries, such as the fact that Lurtz had abandoned his charge, which was to protect the 2 ballistas, and was beelining for the objectives in the centre, and I wondered whether I should go back and lend a hand. In the end, I sent a handful. Hopefully they'd hold the bird up long enough to get some blister shots on it, and in any event, to keep it from interfering with the objective in the middle. My feeling was that the ballistas were not going to win me this game. In fact, as long as I was sat on the centre objective and 1 more objective, breaking sooner rather than later might even be a good thing. And as you can see, I was the first to arrive in force. Thanks to a clutch priority roll right before combat started in earnest, I was able to form a line right where I wanted to be. So this is where we pick things back up. I'm in a pretty good position, and the pressure is on Team Good to find a hole, break through, and contest the critical centre objective. We pick things up with my priority, and Lurtz's contingent is building a line between 2 little bits of ruined wall up there. And then you'll see Saruman's larger warband coming in to complete the second wall. This will be my castle, as I put all of my eggs in the central objective basket. In his move, Saruman began the epic and inevitable sorceress battle with Galadriel, attempting to immobilise her before she could Uno reverse it and immobilise right back at him. Even with 2 dice and a reroll, I only managed a 4.
I use a free 1 and 1 for the pool, so a free 1's on the blue dice. So it's resisted.
The crossbows then bunkered on the rightmost objective. They could happily sit there all game, just taking pot shots at whoever tried to dash across the open ground. Finally, the second ballista beat a hasty retreat. The crew could obviously not hope to outrun Gwaihir, but they could leave a few unfortunate Uruks between them and him, in the hope they could stall him enough to get a few more shots in. It didn't take long for this feathery arsehole to give chase.
Going straight into there, into those 2 there. We'll see what happens from there.
The warriors of the not quite last alliance otherwise did basically what they could do, join the lines around my castle. Rumil and his elves were understandably quite afraid of getting caught in the crossbow fire. They grouped up behind the house, ready to make a dash for it in the next turn. This would be the first turn in which we'd see some serious fighting.
Shooting.
Yeah.
Mine go first. So Vrasku, I'm going to put both his, because he's got expert shot.
Cool.
That's 1. 2 hits. Woo! 2 in the waist. 1 goes through.
Yeah.
Randomised between me and you. Hits you.
Yeah.
Wounding on 6s. Oh.
That's so classic MESBG. You get all that way to fall at the last hurdle. I was very tempted to mic that up, but decided Frasco needed his mic for later in the game.
Good. Happy Middle-earth shooting.
Yay!
Woo!
Ow! Right, combat.
Let's do Guahir first.
Cool.
So if you get a 6, it's yours.
5, triple 5.
Feel 5, so you can might if you need to. You don't need to.
Guahir used his mighty remages and rectresses to barge the defeated pikeman out of the way. Yeah, Google it. However, he only got 1 inch on his own move, so basically just had to re-engage a lone pikeman. At very least, he did manage to dispatch that crew member. As the lines clashed, the warriors of the Not Quite Last Alliance reaped a bloody tally on the Uruk-hai. However, they still had a long way to break through.
That's it. Back to priority.
Yeah.
On a 6.
4.
Are you spending anything?
Yeah, I'll spend it with Galadriel.
He also spent a point with Guahir, and I thought, well, if he's coming for my siege ballistas, that's where I draw the line. So I called a move with one of the siege veterans.
1, 2, 3, it's mine.
Goes to you.
All I did was use my move to tag up Guahir and then give my Uruk a couple of supports, in the hope of keeping him there for the turn.
So that turns off Guahir's heroic. So Galadriel goes next.
Galadriel goes next. Okay.
Galadriel failed to cast even a simple Immobilize in this turn. How embarrassing. Otherwise, the last alliance shuffled in, creating a new supported line right around the Uruk's castle. Finally, the forgotten group on the south of the board darted into open territory with a bold and noble battle cry from their leader.
It. Hopefully you miss a lot and don't do a great deal of damage.
Saruman has got plenty of move to come up right to there, because then he can sorcerer's blast that guy, he'll pass over Elendil and knock him off his horse.
Okay.
On a 5, so that's gone off.
Yeah.
No fatalities, but that's Elendil off his horse. A humiliating moment in his career, I'm sure. It makes him a bit less killy, and makes it much harder for him to get where he needs to be. The Uruk-hai also did their best to finesse the line, getting the double pike support in the most optimum locations, mainly to boost the lethality of the mighty berserkers. The Uruk-hai also extended their line up to that house at the top to prevent the Not Quite Last Alliance from sneaking through onto the central or rightmost objective.
Shooting.
Yeah.
It's your priority. No, because you called heroic moves.
Your priority.
My priority. So I will first put a bolt into Guahir.
Yeah.
So I'm going to spend his 1 might to get up to a 4. Scatter. So within 3 inches, but there is no one.
No.
So it hits the combat.
Yeah.
So strength 9 hit on my captain. He's very dead. He's got a fate actually. He'll spend his 1 fate. Hey, he's alive. On Guahir. No. Oh, that is unfortunate. And he spent his 1 might.
Yeah.
But no, but actually, because he can't get knocked prone either.
No.
He's just big alive.
There wasn't a huge amount of surprise to the combats. 1 dead Uruk, 1 dead man of Numnor, and Elendil managed to stand up. Then it was time for Guahir.
Guahir.
Oh yeah, of course, Guahir. So I've got sword on brown and 2 pikes on white.
4 high.
5 high. Do you want to
I
might it?
can't. No, I won't might it.
So this pointing siege veteran assigned to my Patreon Sam Gibbs is absolutely acing it. Survived Guahir's attacks, then tied it up in combat, and then defeated it to boot.
All right, priority.
Yes.
3.
3 goes to me.
Both armies simply pressed in, the battle lines were drawn, and the time for clever manoeuvring was over. For me, it was simply about holding the line long enough for the game to end. For them, it was about making a hole and piling through onto the objective. Then it was time for Saruman to make his contribution.
A sorcerer's blast on this pike support here.
Okay.
Just do it on 1 dice for the reroll. It's fast on 6.
Cool.
So he's just going to hit that guy behind.
Yeah.
Strength 6 hit on the guy that got blasted, he's dead. Strength 3 hit on the Numenorian is also dead.
Success?
Shooting.
Yeah, me first.
Yeah.
1 elf went down to the crudely effective Uruk crossbows. Thousands of years of lived experience in warfare felled by a bendy bit of metal and a big string. It was then time for the rest of my shots, which I really hoped would be just as successful.
It's a miss. It's a miss. It's a miss. It's a miss. 5 of 5. Good job, guys. Nicely done.
That's a good start.
At combats.
Calling my 3 with Elendil.
Elendil quickly dispatched the 2 Uruk-hai he was fighting. That luck did not carry into the regular combats.
He's dead.
Yeah.
He's dead. He's dead. Big sixes. Jesus Christ. He's dead again. Jesus Christ. I feel quite bad now. Guahir. I've got 2 with the pike. 4s. What'd you get?
Too high. Guahir's fluffed every time.
Christ.
To make things worse, Pointy Siege Veteran then went on to wound Guahir. He has bested him 3 times in a row. We were then back to priority, and you'll never guess what happened.
6.
4.
We then both called moves. We had a roll off, and I won that as well, so that was embarrassing. In the move, Sauron went first, and he blasted another unfortunate Númenórean to his death. As the lines rejoined once again for another turn of bloody combat, Guahir abandoned his ill-fated assault on the 2 siege ballistas and decided to advance up north. He sought to relieve the beleaguered forces of the Alliance who had broken upon the Uruk lines like water on rock. Finally, the elves who had been trailing Guahir coming up from the south also finally joined the fray.
Galadriel, she's going to do a 3 dice. Immobilise on Lurtz.
Yep.
Goes off in a 6. Give our white dice out. See it happen.
No. He is being immobilised.
Cool.
Elendil called a heroic combat and struck the first blow, cutting through the pikemen he was in combat with and getting within a hair's breadth of Saruman. Rumil also had a combat that went off, killing a single pikeman, allowing him to redistribute 4 elves amongst the beleaguered lines. The rate of attrition was alarming on both sides. Huge numbers of losses, and of most concern was the fact that Elendil cut down the last 2 Uruk-hai standing between him and the traitorous Lord of the Astari. My opponent summed up his feelings. I don't expect that his feelings improved as the turn continued. Guahir then defeated a now lone, prone Lurtz and dealt only a single wound. 6 dice, needing 4s.
I hate dice. I hate dice. I hate dice.
I truly understand. Dice are arseholes after all. We went into next turn. I won priority. We both called moves, so there'd be a roll-off. And you can always tell about how embarrassed I am about how hot my dice are, because I start delivering the news like a doctor who's telling a patient that the last-ditch operation sadly just wasn't a success.
2, I'm afraid.
We went into the final turn, and this late stage in the battle, there was nothing that they could do to stop me from taking it. The final insult was Lurtz making a Hail Mary charge in a one-on-one fight against Guahir the Windlord, and not only coming out on top, but slaying Guahir in the process. I think I can say with confidence that Kyle had the worst luck in any tournament game I have ever seen. The rate at which my Uruk-hai slew both Númenóreans and elves was absolutely monstrous. I won every single roll-off in the game, Saruman out-magicked Galadriel, and this one pointy boy managed to defeat Guahir 3 times to the point that the bird just gave up and left. What I think makes this worse is that I'm sure you'll agree Kyle has one of the most beautifully painted Middle-earth armies you're going to see at a tournament, which you just feel should, if there's any justice in the world, translate to tabletop success. But there isn't, and it doesn't, so I went up to 5th place. But that does mean the pressure is now on to perform as we go into round 5. We'd be playing Assassination, and I'd be facing off against Luke Hilda, who I faced with an almost identical Rivendell list at the last tournament I went to. That video's not uploaded yet, so I'll not spoil things, but this was certainly a grudge match for one of us. Luke had Gil-galad, Círdan, Erestor, and a boatload of elves. My target was Erestor, since Círdan was probably going to be sitting back casting his blinding light. My assassin was unsurprisingly Lurtz. In this game, I've already made a colossal mistake, but not necessarily a tactical one. Kyle deployed on that side of the board. Naturally, this was a good idea since we both had archers, and he got a good bit of cover from that hill there that already set me up for a literal and metaphorical uphill struggle. But here's the error. Clearly the board was initially meant to be set up symmetrically. You can see the other hill on that tray there. We didn't spot it at the time, and so we didn't put it back. Had it been there, I'd have had a firing platform for my 12 Uruk-hai plus Vrasku. Without it, he undoubtedly has the firing advantage, and that's seriously problematic for me. He can sit there and make me come to him in a manner of his choosing. I took first turn and Luke decided not to call a move, which unfortunately meant that all the pressure was on me to make decisions. Out of the gate, Saruman's first move was to try and lock Gil-galad in place, so he couldn't start causing problems early on. He He successfully cast his Immobilize, and Gil-galad didn't even try and resist it, simply taking the hit for the turn. The Uruk-hai then moved, closing in on Gil-galad's part of the army to split it off from the rest of the force, hoping to defeat it in detail. The crossbow-toting Uruks had deployed idiotically far back, and so pegged it up the board in the hope of being relevant before it was over. The Elven move was very brief, but basically what you'd expect. The Elves moved in on the other side of my new line, trapping Uruks where they could. With such a cramped space for both of our armies to fight in east of that little hill, the challenge for both of us was going to be clearing a path from assassin to target. I was pleased to see Arrestor move in, but Lurt still had to make his way through the scrum in order to have a chance at his target.
Círdan will use 2 dice for a blinding light.
Círdan cast that nice and easily, but all my ballistas and crossbows had moved this turn anyway, so it wasn't like I was going to be shooting him.
No shooting for me.
No shooting from you? I'll do some shooting at you then. That lot will just unload into that lot.
Crossbows, yep.
With a vicious volley, 3 crossbow-toting Uruks were killed outright.
Combats.
Any heroics from you?
Nope.
No, none from me either.
The combat saw the first sacred elven lives lost, 2 hacked down mercilessly by the Uruk-hai berserkers, but they took 1 back in return.
Priority. 1.
4 heroics.
Ah, you're right.
In the move, the Uruk-hai surged forward again, determined to fill the gap created between the 2 chunks of the elven army. What the Uruk-hai had in abundance was bodies. What they didn't have was time. Sooner or later, Gil-galad would escape the little nook he'd been trapped in, and would cause havoc behind the Uruk-hai lines. Particularly when I immobilize on a 6, and this is the result on his resist.
Oh, big 6 on a tournament one.
The Uruk-hai crossbows moved up again, determined to get into combat as soon as possible and use the wall as cover. The ballistas stayed where they were. It was time to try and get some clutch pot shots as the game progressed. Then the ballistas opened up for the first time in the battle, flinging their 12-foot bolts at this knight, hoping to launch him through the elven ranks. The first one went wildly wide of the mark. The second one got a 3 and spent his might, because if this horse went backwards, it could create a gap in the line for Lurtz to get through to his target.
Scatter on a 5, so you choose.
The bolt smashed straight into this combat at the front of the line. It pierced through my Uruk-hai. That was fine, as long as he went a good distance back and took some elves with him.
How far does he go? Come on, 5 inches. Lovely stuff.
First to see if my Uruk-hai would die.
It's dead. This one here is dead. That one there is dead.
A noble sacrifice, they will not be forgotten. Let's hope it wasn't in vain.
So he's dead because it's strength 9 on him. He's dismounted and prone, but not dead.
Yep.
Nope. But he's prone. That banner. Nope, but he's prone. And the guy it lands on. No, but he's prone.
So not ideal. 3 Uruk-hai for 1 dismounted knight and 1 killed knight.
That was fun. I'm not sure how productive it was, but it was fun. Cool. Okay, that's all my shooting because the crossbows moved, so it's yours.
Cool. I'll have 4 shots at Saruman.
Yep, I forgot to move him.
I was let off that stroke of incompetence. 2 arrows hit. 1 went down but failed to kill the horse. 1 went up but failed to kill Saruman. The remaining elves then turned their attention on my Uruk-hai, and it turned out they were even better at killing them than I was.
Oh! That's 4. 4. Bloody hell, who do you want?
1, 2, 3, 4, please.
They are being whittled down. We're into fighting. Have you got any heroics to call?
No.
As the battle went on, both sides continued to suffer attritional losses at about a rate of 1-to-1, which was pretty good for the Uruk-hai, because with their numerical advantage, perhaps they could just outlast the elves. With that being said, the ballista shot had cleared a sort of pathway toward Arrestor, and also there were a number of elves on the floor and I wanted to keep them there, so I spent the Palantir in order to take priority.
I'll spend the Palantir and take priority.
I will do a heroic move.
Cool.
With the captain. Cool.
I will call it with Lurtz.
It's therefore time for the game's first big roll-off.
I am very evil. But it goes good.
I'll call with me.
Woo!
That move allowed the elves to exploit a hole in the Uruk-hai line between the Uruk-hai and the rock. They tagged up a lot of the supporting pikemen and also grabbed Lurtz.
Círdan will wander over here and put blinding light up.
Yeah. No.
Oh.
Want my tip?
I sort of do, but I'm not going to.
Okay.
This is an opportunity for me. A lapse in concentration from Círdan has left the elves exposed to the fury of the Uruk-hai shooting for this turn. In return, Saruman saw his opportunity and decided to Sorcerous Blast Erestor, my target.
Nice. Oh, we're gonna re-roll that with
What are we casting, by the way?
Ooh.
Or not, it seems the winds of magic were blowing softly. With the rest of the moves, the surviving Uruk-hai crossbowman finally made it to the relative safety of the rocky outcropping. The ballista stayed still to get shots, taking advantage of the now absent blinding light. The rest of the Uruk-hai simply pressed forward, trying again to make a hole for Lurtz to slip through and kill his target before it was too late.
Winning on this guy here with this ballista.
Yep.
The bolt ended up scattering onto a poor elf with his back up against the wall.
So strength 9 hit on the guy who got hit. No. And a strength 6 hit for hitting the wall. Nope, he's fine.
That means he just survived being this guy.
That was frustrating. This guy is going to go on... We're going to go on the captain again.
The one turn that Blinding Light wasn't up, I got 6s on both ballistas to hit. Now I wanted that again for the scatter.
It's a 5. I'm going to mic that. So 6. Cool. D6 inches. Oh! 1, 2. I'll do Uruks first. That one. That one. That one. So that's mine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My Uruks.
Okay, let's roll you through your Uruks and take your Uruks away then.
He's dead. He's dead. He's dead. No. That's a 100% fatality rate.
Quite brutal. It'll be worth it if it does as much damage to the elves.
Okay, on your... So, first strength 9 on this guy.
Yes.
He's a wound. He's wounded.
Yep, he'll take the fate. He'll use nothing because he hasn't got any might. He's dead.
Claimed the captain, starting out strong.
This elf here.
Yep. He's fine.
And that elf at the end. Oh, you bastard! I'm not entirely convinced that was worth it, but
It depends. If your target was my captain, it was worth it.
it was very funny as well.
Kinda wish I had chosen the captain now.
That's shooting gun.
Yeah.
So, any heroics for you?
No.
I will combat with Lutz.
This was a big one for me. As awful as that ballista shot had been, it had cleared a path between Lurtz and Erestor.
On 3s!
I got 6, so I win.
That was a lot of fun.
There was only one more casualty on each side in the combat phase, but for me the damage had been done.
So I've now broken. So the game might end at the end of the next turn. So we're just into priority.
Yeah, priority.
5.
2 for me. All yours.
Cool.
This was my last turn to pull it back. I started with the same Sorcerous Blast on my target, Erestor.
Yeah.
Will and a free 1.
Nope.
Well, Lord the Astari, onto 5. And a knockdown to a 6.
Saruman hadn't spent might at all this game, so I spent one to bump it to a 6. This could be a big one for me. He would be on the floor and trapped if this goes off, and Lurtz can get to him.
I have a 4 and a 2.
He was dismounted, and he took a wound from the blast. He spent his fate on it, but it means he's now a fateless, dismounted, prone Erestor. The perfect chain of events for me now is that Lurtz can kill Erestor, and then the game ends. That's doable. I have Heroic Strike, and if I win, I'll be doing 6 strikes at strength 5 each. The only obstacle was a simple courage check, because even though Erestor is flat on his back, he still causes terror. So, here we go.
Sorry.
Courage check.
Oh! No! Oh.
That was, realistically, just it. That was it. It was over. It was quite obvious now that Erestor was my target, not the captain, and so he simply flooded the gap between Lurtz and Erestor to stop him ever having a second chance. I'd sacrificed so many good Uruks that day to create one possibility, but Lurtz missed his chance to blow. That opportunity came just once in a game. Tragic. The game ended with a wound on Lurtz and break points to Rivendell. That's knocked me down the tables, but I could still come home with more wins than losses at the biggest points event I've ever been to. One game left, one shot at moderate glory. My final game of the tournament would be against Will Champion. Will is, as the name implies, a bit of a f***ing beast. He is a well-known player and tournament organiser, and has his Patreon page, Will's Champions, which coaches people on how to get better at MESBG. The pressure is on then, because if I can beat him, that Patreon page must be functionally useless. Although to be fair to him, the scenario favours me quite heavily. This is to the death. You get points for wounding and killing their leader, breaking their army, having a banner at the end of the game, and reducing their army to below 25%. He's playing with the Goblin King, a couple of Goblin Town Goblins, a couple of Wraiths from the Dol Guldur list, a bunch of Hunter Orcs, and the Spider Queen. He has bats and wargs in tow. His army will shred when it gets into combat, but as it walks here, it's very low defense and vulnerable to my crossbows and my ballistas. I castled up. I wasn't going to move an inch. He would have to walk the board to me while I get shots. Started by opening up with the ballistas.
Okay, you'll have it in the way for the wall on both, but it's worth a shout. We'll Spider Queen with this ballista. It's a hit. 4, so your choice to 3 inches.
This guy here.
Lovely, so there's no in the ways on him.
Nope.
So D6 inches goes back. 5 inches, but he's just going to hit that wall.
Blah.
I think he'll probably hit both.
The shot killed 2 orcs and did a wound to the orc captain, which he failed to save on fate. Kudos to that ballista crew.
The other ballista's going to go for the same target. It's a hit.
Yeah.
Another one, those would be nice. Nope, 3 inches out of you.
This guy here.
This guy here, no in the way, but he's just going to hit that wall no matter how far he goes. Yeah, hit the wall. And does he die? He does not, but he takes straight 6 for hitting the wall.
Yeah.
Hey! He's just got like a 9-foot bolt sticking out his chest. Okay, and then we've got some crossbows.
So some crossbows is the most outrageous lie I've ever heard you say.
I'm so sorry. So we'll put all of them in this line, and we'll just go left to right, basically.
Yeah.
Hitting on 4s. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hits, exactly half. Defense is
4.
So 4, so kill. Ooh, that's pretty good. That's 5 dead.
I hate you, I think.
I'm so sorry. Vrasku will go on this Wraith here.
Yep.
2 hits.
Yep. He dead.
I was initially very excited about killing the Wraiths with Vrasku's first bolts, before I remembered that he can regenerate next turn.
But on a 1 and a 2, is it not in the Legion?
Yeah, it's just
yeah, okay. Ooh, yes, priority. 4.
1. So regeneration.
He's back.
He's back within 6 inches.
So he's going forward. Oh, that was a mistake. I shouldn't have shot him.
Boogity, boogity, boogity. I'm going to call a march with the captain again.
Okay, I'm not calling anything. I'm staying here.
I respect that.
No, you don't.
How many crossbows is that?
12 plus Vrasku's got expert shots. I know. I hate myself sometimes.
With their turn, the orcs advanced as fast as they possibly could. As fantastic as my shooting had been, I only had a few more turns to get any mileage out of it before the horde descended upon us. In my shooting, 1 ballista missed, the other killed both fell wargs, taking a nice cavalry threat off the table.
Cool, priority, yeah?
No, I've still got 12 crossbows.
Oh, just the 12 crossbows, yeah, sure. Sure.
10, 11, 12, that's 12. Pause. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 misses.
Oh, what a rubbish round of shooting.
Pants. I mean, that was quite pants. 1 dead. Woo! And then Vrasku 2 shots. 1 hit. Nope.
Love that.
That's more like it.
A few more of them, please.
In the next turn, the horde continued its slow advance. Finally within striking distance of my shooting line, I was finally starting to feel some heat. The reign of ranged Uruk-hai terror was over. I did my first bit of moving of the whole game. Look at me go. The Uruk-hai on the right edged forward just a few inches so that Saruman would be in range to Sorcerer's Blast his banner.
I'm going to risk just his free will and is Istari reroll. Is Istari reroll? Yes.
Yep, so he's touching 2, so he hits 2.
Sadly, he didn't kill anyone, so the banner survived. The Uruk-hai gun line gave the orcs another volley. It wasn't quite as successful this time, but still killed 4 orcs and did a wound to the Spider Queen. If Will didn't get here soon, he wouldn't have many models left to beat me up with.
Priority!
Yeah, buddy.
A priority or we might get some fighting. It's a 1.
It's a 1.
You had it last turn.
I did.
So it's mine.
So the Uruk-hai moved first, and remarkably, they decided to actually take that option and do some moving. They raced to plug the gaps in the little rocky outcroppings on the right-hand side, hoping to slow the orcs down further to get another round of shots. By the time of their move, the board looked like this. They were so close they could smell me, although to be fair I hadn't had a shower in 48 hours, so. Meanwhile, this small contingent of Uruks went south around this house here to perform a classic Manoeuvre de Derrière, as I think you say it. I really wanted one last hurrah, a big volley like the ones I'd be getting earlier in the game to thin the herd before the Hunter Orcs tore me a new one. What I got was a single orc with 2 ballistas, 12 crossbows, and Vrasku. 1 orc scalp. A frankly pathetic showing. Happily in this combat here, my 1 Uruk-hai who had sallied forth from the line to take on the Wraith and 3 orcs succeeded. A stalwart little champion who wanted to impress as Saruman watched on. The opening foray showed why Isengard's early shooting advantage had been so critical. The Spider Queen had thrown herself in, easily won her combat, and hurled an Uruk-hai down the line. Travelling over 4 of its fellows, it killed 3 of them. That's surely an undignified way to go for one of the fighting Uruk-hai. Speaking of indignity, the hits kept coming at the hands of these grotty little orcs, and then we really hit rock bottom.
And then we've got Saruman on 2 bats.
That's right, Saruman the Wise was being forced to defend himself against squirrels cosplaying as pigeons.
6.
Cool, you've got it.
We'll go for a horse. Yes.
Dead. Oh, Throne Rider.
He loves it.
Oh yeah, he's getting
and
up.
then 3 on the man. That is 1 wound.
Cool. I will definitely fake that. I will definitely
More please,
fake that.
more please.
Oh, fine, I'll might it.
Yeah, you will.
So that's 1 might off Saruman, and 2 fate off Saruman.
Fearing more humiliation at the hands of a savage storm of bat slaps, Saruman looked deep into the Palantir to seize priority for this turn.
And I'll call a move with his first might point.
I didn't call my own move because the bats were not within Will's, and therefore Saruman was safe for the turn. Plus, I already had a good amount of sturdy infantry blocking up the gap in the rocks, an impenetrable line, which I didn't need to move, to strengthen. However, my confidence was misplaced. No, they didn't have to go through my impenetrable Uruk-hai line, they just went round it. I guess this is my Maginot moment. They had to jump down, which meant they weren't going any further this turn, but still, all of a sudden I had the Goblin King and his grubby little minions on my side of the line, and within striking distance of Saruman. With the rest of the moves, the line simply clashed. My Uruk-hai moved up further to lock some of the orcs in place, to stop them from getting even more models into me later in the turn. The intrepid commando Uruks progressed further around the house on the left-hand side of the board, and one of my lovely Uruk-hai berserkers locked up those 2 bat swarms to stop them from being more of a menace this turn. It was time to go back to the ballistas, my favourite part, although Will wasn't so keen.
Stop it. Get some help.
So we're gonna whack it on the Spider Queen. It's a hit.
Whack.
It's a 4. 3 inches for you.
I guess this poor Warg will take 1 for the team.
In the way of the combat, it passes. So D6 inches on the Warg, just an inch. So then it's just a strength 9 on the Warg. No.
Hey, my guy.
Yeah.
The crossbows meanwhile managed to ping a wound on the Goblin King, but it was absorbed by his blubbery mass. It was otherwise a big fluff, and it had become apparent that the time for shooting was over. The crossbows needed to get involved.
Fights then.
Fights. Any heroics?
No, because you're lame and you won't let me.
Sorry.
No, you're not. Don't apologise.
No, actually no. No heroics for me either.
Cool.
So let's do the bats because I'm a bit nervous about them. Oh, I'm on 3. That's not good.
Flippity flappity. You are a cock dice. 1.
Oh! On a 6. These bats, man, they are absolute units.
In that turn, the killing continued at pace. I lost a bunch of Uruk-hai, even my banner, which I took with good grace.
And he's not touching anyone. Oh my god.
Amongst all the slaughter, it looked at least like Will seemed to be having a whale of a time.
Got him. So strength 6 on him.
Okay,
Priority.
I can't do any stealing this turn.
3.
You got it? I think it's going to have to be Saruman that calls.
Okay.
Because I don't want you to kill Saruman.
You don't want all of this nonsense?
No, not really. I'm not a big fan of it.
There were 2 really serious threats left on the board, by my reckoning. The Goblin King and the Spider Queen. The Spider Queen was certainly going to be the easier of the 2 to deal with, since the Goblin King has resistant to magic, 3 will, blubber save, blah 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 blah, all that kind of stuff. The Spider Queen has none of that going on, and so I went with what was easy, and I immediately immobilized the Spider Queen. With my move, I bubble wrapped Saruman the best I possibly could, but with all my focus being on the Spider Queen and the Goblin King, I'd forgotten about one cheeky little bastard. That was Smeagol, and Will planned to use him to remove someone who'd been a thorn in his side for the entire game so far.
Yeah, I'm going to go f*** him as well, then, I think. Are you unarmed?
No, he's got a dagger.
Oh, that's awkward.
Believe it or not, but the fight that has just been set up between an unshowered coward with a kitchen knife versus a stripped-down, malnourished guard gnome clearly in need of support for an ongoing mental health crisis would come to determine the rest of the game. Before that though, my immobilize on the Spider Queen had set her up for a cheeky bolt, which I was happy to deliver.
That's a hit.
Yeah, I did for a few turns.
It's through the combat.
It's the Spider Queen. She goes back 2 inches.
And then Strychnine. Come on. It's a cock dice! Okay.
There we go. She's done.
A great, if not slightly overdue victory for that ballista crew, but now we're into the danger zone, the combats.
Let's start with Gollum and Grimmer.
Okay. It's the duel of the ages. It's a 3. What's your fight?
I'm fight 4. He's dead. I just come behind him. Suddenly I've got way more might than I had before. Let's do the 2 bats versus the Urukai.
The bats quickly claimed their 3rd Urukai. More importantly, the loss of Grima to that careless positioning changed the entire game. Will had saved basically all his might because he didn't want to be double spending earlier in the game, to the point that he knew I would make a mistake and Grima would fall to the strangling fingers of Smeagol. And now, things started to fall apart very quickly. The next turn, another positioning error put Saruman in combat with the Goblin King. A cheeky 6 won it for him, but it only bought him a turn. He was soon pulverized into the snowy earth by a walking sea lion fresh and angry from his national humiliation on the X Factor. And that was it. We'd broken each other, but Will had his banner, and he killed Saruman, and he took a well-deserved win. He took that victory after an uphill struggle. Had I not made a bit of an arse of things, I think I should have been able to quite easily win that one. It was, after all, a terrible matchup for Will. That being said, I have no regrets. It was my favourite game of the tournament, and bear in mind, I'd had some fantastic games this tournament. Will also kindly gave me some pointers, which I found to be very helpful. His view was that I should never have broken my castle, even to come and plug up the little gaps in the rocks. I could have stolen another turn's shooting, and I would never have exposed myself to the gaps that allowed him to take out both Grimmer and Saruman. I should have been more determined to kill his banner with Saruman, and, in what seems obvious in hindsight but I didn't really think about at the time, I should have repositioned one of the ballistas around the left-hand side of the house so that it could have fired down the line. Anyway, if like me you're getting a bit tired of being pulverized, I highly recommend Will's Patreon. There's a link in the description. It's good if you want to support someone who's done a lot for the community, who's kind of nice, I guess, and also who might actually help you improve, unlike here. Thanks so much indeed to the TOs, Owen and Ed. Fantastic tournament, love the format, really enjoyed the fact we didn't have to think about Legendary Legions for a weekend. It's a great venue, and this is an absolute must for me to get back to next year. As for the MVPs, winners of Patreon prizes, that has to be Sam Gibbs for his pointing Siege Veteran, for nailing the Spider Queen, for nailing an Elven Captain, and for defeating Guahir in hand-to-hand combat. Cameron Law's Grima Wormtongue, obviously, he's just absolutely fantastic and always will be. And John McCorkadale's Berserker for killing a Rivendell Knight and 2 more Rivendell Elves with a single swing of his Berserker Blade. You're getting copies of the Helm's Deep issue of the SBG magazine, which seems appropriate for my big Isengard horde. Thank you so much to the patrons. As you know, I've just spent an ungodly amount of your money on a bunch of miniatures and kits for the next video. You're also all getting Christmas presents and personalised cards. If you wanted to join the Patreon or the Facebook group, the links are in the description with Will Champion's Patreon page. Thank you, as always, for watching.
Orange ticket, 3 digits. The first one's a 3.